Resonance frequency is a term from science, often used in reference to sound and acoustic transmission. And what I'm using it in this instance for is to show how our minds pool with other minds according to the principles of resonance frequency. So just as a short, sort of simple concept of resonance frequency, it's where one object that's vibrating at a particular frequency transmits across to another object that's on the same frequency. And you might have heard the expression birds of a feather, or on the same wavelength, and this is all expressions that we use every day, but we're actually talking about resonance frequency. Now, why am I teaching you it in relation to the mind? Well, because I've noticed certain phenomena that I think you might be interested in knowing about. And there is a concept called resonance disaster, where one object is vibrating at such a frequency that it disturbs the other object. Now, in psychology, we talk about object, or in psychoanalysis rather, we talk about object relations. And so on the board behind me, you'll see that I have two objects. Now, you're the one on the left, and the other object is the person that you're communicating with. Now, what happens is, it's my belief that, well, we know in the universe, everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And so that's in science. But when I apply that to us, I've noticed that people vibrate at different frequencies. And it seems to me it's nothing to do with intelligence. It seems to me that they're vibrating at their qualities within themselves, the experiences they've had, the education and the information they've been exposed to, and the way they have mediated all of that integration of external and internal information. And so, just to give you a brief example, you might meet with people and they feel very dense and sort of low, or we call them energy vampires. They kind of zap you, and after you've moved away from them, you think, blimey, they really took my energy. Well, you might be interested to know that the original Dracula didn't suck blood, he sucked energy. And why am I teaching you about mind pooling? Is because I've seen this phenomena happen, and it's from psychology studies and it's from my observations of people. Now, individually, we tend to be roughly okay. Let's say that on a good day, we're vibrating at a reasonably good frequency, just getting through life. When your mind pools, which is to connect with another mind, then what can happen is there's a difference in frequencies. So there'll be an averaging out of the group mind. Now, group constitutes two or more people. And so if you're just with your friend, then you and your friend, if you're on the same frequency, that we like that because we say that's familiar. So really that means we're on the same modulation frequency. But in everyday terms, that means that your group mind adjusts. So if you've ever gotten up the next morning and thought to yourself, I really shouldn't have done that, but you did it because of the influence. This word influence is interesting, isn't it? To influ, to, you know, a flu coming in. So if you've engaged your mind with somebody else's mind and they have influenced you, and it's taken you to a lesser frequency to what you would normally be at, so therefore you've performed behaviour that on your own you wouldn't have dreamt of doing. That's mind pooling, but also the averaging out is what's called an inverse proportion. So the bigger the group, the more the group mind goes down. So if you look at my diagram here, this is obviously two people's faces looking at each other, and you might think I'm talking about the mind, so I've been talking a bit sciencey, but I'm not. You might think I was talking about the brain, but I'm not. I'm talking about the mind. So here we have levels of consciousness. So for any of you doing any kind of, awareness, raising consciousness, you really are going to know about this concept of mind pooling, because you really won't see this written anywhere else. The most you'll find in literature, maybe you'll look in psychopathology, where you'll see emotional contagion, or where one emotion is transmitted to the other person and then the other person takes on that emotion and then it becomes a shared emotion. Or if we go all the way into forensic psychology, this isn't good. This is called a folie à deux. It means sort of madness for two. And you need to then break your communication, your frequency connection with that other person in order for you to restore to your own natural balanced frequency. Now, I could also talk about when you're in your more spiritual groups. And so if you do something called sitting in circle or you're meditating with others, be very aware that your mind, for better or worse, is pooling with the other person. And so your frequency can go low, but your frequency can go high too. So that's the point in us sort of meditating and praying. We want to raise our vibrational frequency to connect with a higher universal knowledge. So low frequency is long wavelengths and high frequency is the shorter wavelengths. So I won't go more into sort of acoustics than that, but I just wanted to tell you this concept of transferring from one person to another, because I think you should be consciously aware that the people you're connecting with, you are unconsciously connecting with as well. Now, if you are totally in love with somebody and you're putting your forehead to their forehead and staring longingly into their eyes, be very, very conscious of the fact that you are really inviting extreme frequency modulation and mind pooling. And well, we call that love, but I won't talk about nature's trick. Anyway, back to our two people here. So unconscious to unconscious communication. If the person you're speaking to, let's say worst case scenario, they're vibrating at a really low frequency. You don't know this, they're a stranger, you've just met them in the supermarket. And so they may engage with you, or they'll be emitting a low frequency. And if you're not aware of it and you engage with them, then you can accidentally get into these altercations, which is my whole point in making this video for you, because I'm trying to give you information so that you are more aware of what's going on and become more conscious of your mind's frequency and the other person that you're engaging with. So really we want to stay at a fairly high frequency, but you know, the truth is this moves with moods and different life experiences. So generally speaking, there's two things that can happen. You can attract in somebody vibrating at the same frequency as you. So if you're vibrating, let's say you're having a bad day, so you might start attracting in people that are bringing you news to make your day worse. Or this can go, and this is why I want to bring this to your attention, it can go the other way. So let's say that you are autonomous, you're capable of your own thinking and independent thought, which is a mind immunity tool. Let's say you are going about your day and you're relatively at high frequencies, so you know you're being conscious and positive about what you're emitting, and what can happen is the opposite will come seek you. So the opposite will be attracted. So the opposite frequency to the one you're vibrating at will come to attract you. Now, it will all depend on how you decide to communicate. Just to let you know, communication is on the telephone, so through the eardrum, sound medium. It's also through social media, through text and through email and through the television. So when I'm teaching people about how to become sort of more strong and immune to the outside influences of others, I teach them into filtration and putting filters on it and boundaries. Oh my goodness. Right, I won't go into that too much now. So this was just to tell you about some mind pooling phenomena that can occur. If you're somebody who's been deemed as being overly sensitive, what that just means is that your frequencyometer is on high, which is, to be honest, it's not that you're too sensitive. I think that's often said as a criticism, but I think it's that you pick up on this sooner. So you've probably got the other person sussed unconsciously, even before you're consciously aware of it. Okay, so when you've been in your groups, let's say you've been to a really lovely retreat, you've had a fabulous weekend with other people, then on an invisible energy note, I would say to you, when you come away from other people, you need to separate not only your mind from them, but your energy system from them. And so those of you in the world of spirituality, you'll know about the sage. We sage around the energy field, and then the lovely incense that you can burn as well, or whatever mind practices you want to use to separate yourself from the other person. You can simply use your imagination to do that as well. So just to let you know then about the concept of mind pooling according to the scientific principles of resonance frequency. I hope that this helps you become more consciously aware of who you're unconsciously communicating with. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.